When writing The Widow's Oil, there was a plan to craft and write several novellas and short stories based on the characters in the book. That felt like fun. And years ago, I would have written the one story, Widow's Oil, and then moved on. However, I wanted to change that and expand if possible. Depending on the book, flesh out different characters, places, things, or situations. The Widow's Oil was the first book to get this sort of treatment. I've written other books, but none of them are written like this. And I guarantee you it won't be the last. Now, Amias being the first novella being published is actually kind of weird. Because Amias started actually as a short story to be told within a group of stories called Mary's Tales. Then stories from there started to graduate to novella status, and Amias became one of them. Now, after having a set number of books ready, the question was, who would go first? And after The Widow's Oil. And there was much, inner discussion in my mind about which novella, which one should go first, but Amias was ultimately chosen. And there were two reasons for that. First, Amias is probably closest in feel, in a way, how it kind of feels, how the story moves, to The Widow's Oil. Even though his is a journey, hers isn't, but it's still kind of similar, at least as far as in feel. Because not all the novellas will have the same tone, that's probably an even better word of putting it, like The Widow's Oil, or even have about the same similar situation. Some of the books are actually military fiction. Few of them are actually told from the villain's point of view. There's some thrillers, and there's all sorts of other books as well. Now, however, Amias feels like it came literally like right out of The Widow's Oil, and because of this, it feels almost like an addendum to the primary book that you have. And it eventually has an even similar tone, but we kind of already said that. But the second reason is that Amias is also Mary's husband, and I thought it was pretty fitting to see him go right behind her book being published due to them being, well, married. It's sort of symbolic and all, and I thought that was pretty cool. Now, Amias' book, even though it feels like it's an addendum, it actually takes place years before the events in The Widow's Oil. He's an older gentleman in the book, when I'm talking about Widow's Oil, and even though in his own story he's a little bit older, but he still gets around pretty nicely. Now, we see him as a prophet who's very strong in his faith in God. We also get to see his friendship with Afra, who also appears in The Widow's Oil, although only for just a few chapters. Now, seeing Amias in his book gives the reader a better understanding of why Mary would actually marry him. In The Widow's Oil, we only see a glimpse of his character and experience the loss through Mary's eyes, but we don't really see them being a true married couple, or technically anything much of Amias' character, or who he is, or anything about him. But in this book, or in his book, we see plenty of who he was and how he displayed his personality, as well as also how he treats people. Now, Amias mentions an incident that will be in Fasher's novella, which is pretty cool. It's like something that played a very significant role in his life and development as a person. Now, of course, no story is interesting without conflict, or at least some sort of antagonist. And this story has both, and shows how Amias deals with people who stand in his way, as well as others who show him kindness. I don't want to give too much away, but Amias is a wonderful read that's not very long, which is cool. It's a novella, it makes sense, but packs a considerable punch. It's exciting, thrilling, and suspenseful. We all have to go on a journey, so why not be entertained by a man who would not let anything stand in his way to find the truth, even if that means traveling into unforeseen, hostile territory. Amias, a Widow's Oil novella, is available at Amazon.com and bookstores online. There is a website, lavari.com/Amias, which will be in the description. There you can read a free chapter, watch some videos, or even learn more about the charities and travel city associated with the book. Thank you so much for your support, and have a great time going on a journey with the prophet Amias in his adventure.